So, hello and welcome back, everybody, to a special energy update here from the Davyd and Bella QPW channel. I'm, of course, Davyd.
I'm Bella. Hi.
Alrighty, everybody. So, as we often do ahead of one of our immersion containers, we put out an energy update, partly to alert all of you, of course, to the container that we're going to be holding, but also to give a little bit of a background to why we've been called to do that and the energy patterns that we see at work. Regardless of whether you decide to join us or not, these are the energies that we see incoming. And we have already put out a couple of pretty strong previews, right, Bella, with the quantum compass and then an astrology show with our sister Shannon McGill. But there's still a few more pieces we want to add here, right?
Yes, it does feel like we're about to enter a big jump point. So we have been tracking all of these gateways, all of these jump points, and we feel that during this wave spell of the storm is the big catalyzing energy that propels us to the other side. But we all need to have the tools on how to navigate this storm, and this is what we want to talk about.
Right, so the next incoming wave spell is the blue magnetic storm, pointing you all to the quantum compass, which we just put out a few days early to cover that. And then, of course, the astrology show too, looking at the full moon in Sagittarius that kicks off this wave spell. So there is a lot to happen in the next 13 days. We have already picked out the major points in those two shows. Definitely recommend checking in on them because there are lots of really, really important coordinate points that perhaps they give us anyway, what we feel is the roadmap for the next 2 weeks as we navigate this blue storm. Now, for those of you that have been following us for a while, which I imagine is most of you watching this video, you'll understand that we work a lot with the universal time codes coming from the high Mayans as our container. So each glyph that kickstarts a wave spell is our kind of metronome for the energy that's incoming. And what we've observed, right, Bella, over the last few years of working with the Zolkins is how incredibly tight they fit with what is happening energetically in the world around us, but also how we can measure the Western astrology as anchor points for the energies getting manifested into 3D. By looking at these ahead of time, we can sort of see the navigation route that we need in these times of a storm. And anyone else who's been following our QPW work for a while will know that we use a lot of nautical terms, compasses, coordinates, sky boats, normal boats, all kinds of things that really navigation guide, the quantum compass. That's deliberate. We've seen for a long time, in fact, over the last 3 years, that we were being guided to get ready for a moment where the storm would hit all of us. We believe that this is that moment, and as such, we have been guided to get into our arc now. We have been actually consciously preparing energetic arc spaces for at least the last 12 months. In fact, some of us even going back to 2020 in preparation for this moment. Not to scare people. This is not the point of this exercise. The point is that if we are to step down on new Earth, there is a storm that is hiding those hallowed shores just on the other side. But we kind of have to go through the storm with some level of confidence and holding, but most of all, balance. If we're not balanced, then our ship, our ark could capsize. So this is really why we have been called, we feel, to create a container which we have called the Eye of the Storm. You'll note the Eye of the Storm is a place where it's calm, not in the storm. That is really what we want to share in this energy update today about why we're going to do that, the energies that we perceive are going to be in the storm, and why we're going to be holding space in the Eye of the Storm.
Right. And as part of the storm, we wanted to highlight four specific moments that are important. But I'm starting with today. Just before the storm, I feel that we have the wind in our side by Jupiter entering today on the 9th of June into the sign of Cancer. And when we know that this big benefic planet is coming into these very important 0 degrees of a cardinal point, is an initiation point. So I feel that the whole collective is going to expand the initiation for the whole of humanity, for the whole planet. But also it will bring lots of good things that we should plug into as well.
Absolutely.
So we're being kind of taken into an exploration journey to new territory. We haven't been here before, and that's why we've had these navigation points and we do quantum compass. So Jupiter moving into Cancer is reminding us that it's going to help us expand and evolve so that we reach much more, a much higher level of consciousness for the process that we are starting into new Earth. It's going to stretch us into that new territory. And for that, we're going to be tested on our limiting beliefs. What do we still believe of the old paradigm, of the old world, that we need to now do a check and release many of those things, change our mind, and be willing to open ourselves to the new change that the storm is bringing, is a point of forced evolution. So we have to welcome the change and flow with this.
Yeah. So that's happening today, and then tomorrow there are a number of other things. Again, there's a Black Moon Lilith flashpoint. Again, check the quantum compass. We go into all of these things in details, and that's not the point of today. But what is really important is that we start this way with a full moon in Sagittarius, the sign of the spiritual adventure, and that is very much the archetype that we're calling in for ourselves. And in fact, have been really for a while. To get to the new Earth, you need to be a spiritual adventurer, and every once in a while, on the path, you have to encounter a storm.
Yes.
And if you're smart in a storm on a boat, you hold fast. And you pray quite a bit generally, but in this case, we're going to be praying collectively as a tribe, as a container space for the things that we see unfolding in the storm. So that's the second major point, right, Bella, is the full moon.
So because the full moon is Sagittarius, the ruler is again Jupiter. So the expansion in the point that is the world axis, and Cancer is telling us that there will be a lot of emotion floating around. Cancer is also connected to the country, the home, the ancestors. So I think many countries, like the US has the sign of Cancer, Colombia has the sign of Cancer, many different countries have that as a sign for their foundation. So many of those places are going to be shaken, but it's also a place where we want to go into more nourishment and taking care of our energy and our emotions, because it's during the storm, you need to go inside, like in Cancer. You protect yourself and you go into the what we call the tree of life.
Right, and what's really interesting here, and getting slightly ahead, is that there is a Jupiter Cazimi that actually starts the next wave spell of the human. And if we go back 12 months, there was a Jupiter Cazimi that happened 40 days after that powerful April 8th eclipse. That 40-day journey is something that we've been tracking. And again, we're into the final play out of that 40-day journey, because in this particular instance, the 40-day journey started at the beginning of the Skywalker wave spell, which is going out and finding the heavenly imperative and bringing it down into 3D, bringing heaven to earth. That's really the job, and that has been a very difficult one, but in doing so we've uncovered many things that we now understand were blocking many things from happening, which we're going to share a bit about in a minute. So that Jupiter Cazimi is kind of the delta that starts the next wave spell in Cancer with the sun, and the sun is another one of the major players in this piece, which we're going to talk about in a second too.
So what we are expecting a lot of during this storm wave spell is things connected or topics connected to the Cancer sign, which is PTSD from things that have happened in our childhood, for example, connection to our mother and healing all of that connection, the relationship of children and mother, if the mother haven't taken care of the child, always that is going to create that program that later on makes us feel lack of self-worth, lack of confidence. We don't love ourselves enough to be able to nurture ourselves and other people. And there is always some PTSD from that.
Right, and one of the layers of the PTSD that we've been tracking for the last 5 years is the offered medications. And we've all been living in that world, whether we took the offered medications or not, because the vast majority, or certainly the Western population, did. And came with that was a bunch of stuff like shedding and sickness and illness. And some of us for the last 5 years have been trying to work out what was going on to our bodies, to the people around us, energetically, spiritually, physically. And in doing so, we've realized that this has been going on since we were children. In fact, probably for most of us all the way back to the age of 5 when we first received offered medications. Only on that occasion, we didn't have the power to say no. The power to say no was resting in most cases with our mothers, who also didn't know about these things. That's part of the story that we have all been carrying in our fields, we feel, on some level since we were children. Very, very few people in the Western world will have avoided that. And if we can take anything positive from the last 5 years, from the debacle of everything that's happened, is that this actually has encouraged many of us to track back through our lives to understand perhaps why we've suffered long-term illnesses, injuries, things that never got better, things in our physical body, because this is what happened to us as kids. And now it's been made more obvious to us as people around us have gone through this process more obviously. Now all of that is being revealed. One of the things we tracked was the dissolution of the veil that actually happened with the great Guardian Manana McClear just a few weeks ago. And since that process concluded itself, we can see ourselves, but also with reports from others in our tribe, that people now are falling very much into two camps: those who really have no idea what is going on and perhaps are in automaton mode, and those that perhaps have been waking up and now seeing for the first time the automatons around them, but also many other things like what we've just shared. So this is the storm. Some of us have known about this for quite a while. Some of us have been working on solutions for quite a while, but still we know really that the masses don't. And what happens when that necessary revelation comes? Well, there's going to be a lot of turmoil, a lot of emotional charge, a lot of polarity, a lot of finger pointing, a lot of blame gaming, and many other things. And that might even go through family situations. We don't need to go into too much detail about this. Those of us who've been on this journey for a while have had to experience this for a while, and maybe some people are going to wake up for the first time and go, "Oh my God, maybe you guys were telling me the right stuff 5 years ago." That's all part of the journey too. And I think the most important thing here is that we can see that polarity is being pumped into the mix, us and them, left and right, this person versus that person. You're seeing a lot of headlines, so and so versus so and so. We're all in this together, guys and gals, and the more that we can get to that non-dualistic place and hold forgiveness and unconditional love for all beings, regardless of whether they hurt us, poisoned us, were negligent, or abused us in any number of ways. I haven't, in my experience with clients since I've been doing this work over the years, not found anybody not affected by these things. So it's a collective trauma. And I think that if we can enter this space, Bella, into the storm, understanding that we've all been traumatized, we all have levels of PTSD that we haven't even been able to acknowledge because we didn't know what was masking them. Now that's going to happen. So some of us have already done this work and want to hold space on our boat in the storm by holding fast to hold space. And this is really our invitation to those of you who are watching and listening this, hearing the energetic transmission that we're putting out right now. If you feel called to come and join us on our boat in the storm, then please do, because this is perhaps, we think, one of the most important culminating moments energetically in our lives that we've been working towards. And in fact, any of you who've watched our videos, joined our immersions and quests, you've all been contributing to a much longer narrative, which was the repairing of time. That's another story in itself. But Bella, what's the next major day in the sequence? Or did you want to add something else?
Solstice is what we feel on the 20th of June. We feel that is the actual jump point. But in order to jump, we need to go through our own storm and see the storm playing out in the collective as well. So that's what we're inviting many of you, whether you join us in the immersion or you do it by yourself, have the awareness of the moment we're in and how by that point you want to have resolved most of your inner storms and be able to do the jump and put your healing up in the unified field or the collective field so that that spreads like the 100 monkey effect across the planet, putting healing and putting the intention that we're ready for a new earth. All of this work is for us to all jump together.
Right, so how are we going to do that? Well, many of you have been working with us with the three trees, the mystical column, the toroidal field of Mother Earth, the toroidal fields that we hold. It's all fractal, remembering. So as always, we're going to be holding this container inside the world tree, but with some differences, which we're going to be sharing more in the immersion itself. The container has already been set. A lot of guides and guardians have already been called in, not just plant and tree guardians, but high ascended masters. We're also going to be working very much with the energy of the Pleiadians and the Whale Nation, and also under the guidance of the Buddha Maitreya. Some of you might already resonate with those energies. Those are the guardians that have been put into place, and we're going to be working with quite an array of plants who are all stepping forward en masse. Too many to list here, but we're going to be sharing those into the container as well. And during this container, we're going to be holding a number of healing circles. And really, the idea is to hold the mystical column, the channel of light from the heavenly realms down into the storm, where we as a group are going to be meditating, holding space for these 13 days, group exercises, personal meditations. We have a lot at stake here, and we called in everybody basically for this one. And during those 13 days, really, it's really the first 9 days up until the Blue Solar Hand, which is a Pakalvatan prophecy day. Very, very powerful day for healing intentions with that glyph of the hand. And that comes the day before the Cancer solstice, which here in the Northern Hemisphere, where the bulk of the population and the action is happening, is the peak of the solar energy. So then we enter 3 days of stillness, the same as we do at the winter solstice. It's less observed in the Northern Hemisphere with the summer solstice, and that really takes us to the end of this wave spell, and then we're into the realm of the human, or as we perceive, the realm of the cosmic human. So this is the white world bridging energy that we've been working with in this wave spell, now being brought heaven down to earth, bridging the worlds. But as we bring those higher frequencies, they are going to cause a storm in the place where density, illusions, lies, deceit, betrayal, all of that and more is still needing to be illuminated, recognized, healed, and released.
Yes, and this storm is absolutely necessary. Chaos and disruption is absolutely necessary. Think of when you have an old house, but you want to have a new house. So you need to destroy and clean up all of the mess before you bring your new house into that site.
Yeah.
So that is the process we're going, and we're going to see what's underneath all of that. That is the disclosure process as well. And the media is going to try to distract us in lots of different directions. And we don't want to go there too much. We want to go inside to get the answers and the truth.
Right. So again, if you've been following the rollout of the narration of the story and loop back to that Pluto Kazemi and the Yeshua Kazemi, that was a really, really powerful weekend where that Christed consciousness energy literally blasted open the doors of the underworld and started to clean the underworld, thus forcing the denizens of the deep up to the surface. And now they have no veil to hide behind, they have no magic, and they are being fully revealed. And we have been tracking that. Actually, strangely and interestingly, with the energy of the shadow goddess, who in astrology we see as the Black Moon Lilith, who now is right in the center of the Southern Cross, the Crew constellation in Scorpio, where she is surrounded by love, by the Christed consciousness energies of Yeshua and Sophia, who hold the 4 pillars of the temple in the Crew constellation in Scorpio.
Which is the best place where she can get full redemption for everything that has been happening. So we're getting to experience through the media all of the dark undertones of everything connected to a Black Moon Lilith in Scorpio, which is the trafficking and all of the dark stuff that we're hearing from the trials and many people involved in that. But let's remember that as a spiritual war, our ultimate goal is freedom, and we see it coming through. We start to see the final realizations of what we can accomplish, the end of slavery of humanity, the end of death for the world. So we want to accomplish that freedom from all of that energy that is being siphoned from us, and also the free energy factor. If all of us start, there has been new free energy, lots of patents around that for years, but they keep on, they have been blocked for a long time. But the moment that us as a planet reach the point of free energy, free zero debt and zero slavery through different systems and mechanisms, we make it to the other side. We become galactic humans or cosmic humans.
Right. So there has been a lot of emphasis over the last, we can say, couple of decades on the very yang, overly masculine, patriarchal world that we've been living, all of which is true and part of the design, and that's fine. We're coming to the end of that part of the story. But as we have been observing and working with the return of the goddess energy over the last 2 years, what has become very clear to us is that as the real high energy of the goddess returned to this planet properly in her full glory, as that's happened, we've been forced to confront that what was left here on the planet was the shadow goddess. We can say, perhaps, if we look at the descent of Vijnana or Ishtar into the underworld, she confronts her sister Ereshkigal, who is so in the underworld on her throne, maybe on the 9th layer down, that she turns her sister to stone and destroys her. This is a very, very good representation of the wounded feminine, what she has done to her own sisters, and worst of all, what she's allowed to happen to her children. It's not easy even to talk about it. None of us want to say that because we don't want to think of the goddess in that way, but that is what she was subjected to. Now that she's in that healing space of the sacred temple of the Christed consciousness, she is receiving healing. And as Venus comes into a direct opposition with her a few days into this way spell, but is also being tried by Mercury, we can see that the redemption healing process is underway. And if Black Moon Lilith, the shadow goddess sorceress, is redeemed and is restored to her full goddess energy, that we believe is the keys to the new earth abundance system, the universal wealth abundance system, because that comes from the energy of the goddess. So there are many, many things at play here now, all of which really and truly are already in the future timelines, but we have to play the roles in the theatre, each and every one of us stepping into our performance now, and each one of us will have our own different performance to play out.
So we wanted to just do a short video to give an update, and we want to leave you with that. On the other side of this, there is abundance. There are many new things, many things to dream about, many ideas and things that we can start building as communities. And I think abundance and even the price of silver could be affected in a positive way with this solstice energy. So I see many things coming down the line, but we all need to process this part of the storm to make it to the other side. And it's as each one of us transcends this point of the storm that has always blocked us for a long time, as each one of us does that jump, then the whole collective gets to do it as well.
Right, so as a final thought, if you're watching this and got to this point, the end of the video, well done, congratulations, thank you. Please do hit like and subscribe and put a comment. We love hearing the comments, partly because it keeps the energy going on the platform, which is really important just in the energetic realms of using the internet, but also because we love to hear your comments and thoughts. And we have a motto in our tribe, which is sharing is caring. And we believe that the more collective sharing we put into a container, the more informed, the more wise we all are as a result. And that's what happens in these immersions. So this call is to all of you who maybe have journeyed with us before, with the plants or with the various allies that we work with. Those of you who maybe hear the call to come and help us hold space to resolve and transmute the things that we have just outlined, because if we can, then the future that many of us have already stepped into, at least in some part of ourselves and are already living on, can be brought into the present moment for everybody to participate in. And that really is the highest mission that certainly we've been working towards since we got together over the last 3 years and across many other lifetimes too. And for sure, we know that many of you are brothers and sisters who we consciously work with in the tribe, but also maybe who watch these videos have also been doing the same work. So just putting that call out to hold fast and to hold space.
Let's ride this storm together.
All right.
We'll see you in the next
Thank
video.
you, everybody, in Lakesh.
In Lakesh.